Well, hello everybody. Continuing on with the motor, I went ahead and installed the water pumps and the front cam cover. Pretty basic, just gasket sealer, gasket sealer, and put it in. Nothing special there. I know I probably should have filmed it, but I didn't, sorry. But I went to put on my EAB heads, which I wanted to run them because they're supposed to be higher compression heads. Well, without the gasket, the pistons or the valves were hitting it. So I thought, well, you know, the dome, cylinder dome on the head is too small. So I had somebody bring me over some Mercury heads. The 8 CMs, which are, I guess, like AV8s, and I tried those, and they just barely touched with no gasket on. So I threw a gasket on. I threw it. They barely touched with the gasket on. So then I wanted to find out the squish or whatever. So, or the top of the piston to the head clearance. So what I did is I went ahead and clayed the piston and valves like this, put on my head gasket, torqued down the Merc heads, and my squish ended up being 75 thousandths, and I want it down to about 50. So I thought to myself, well, why not clay the EAB heads and see where they are with the gasket, because earlier I tried it with the gasket and I didn't feel them hitting. So that's what I'm doing now. I thought I'd show you guys that. I took my granddaughter's Play-Doh and just made some little rolls with it across there in the valves, and then I'll put on the head with the gasket, torque it down to specs, and then I'll turn it over by hand a couple of times, pull the head back off, and I'll measure how far this clay is squashed. So I guess that will get me my squish, or whatever it's called. I'm not a motor guy, but anyway, the top of the piston to the top of the dome on the head is what I'm looking for, about 50 thousandths. Okay, so I'm using just the standard Felpro gasket. Even though my cylinders are bored 80 over, it seems like the gasket sealing area is like perfect at 80 over. Grab my head here. Alright, so I have the head torqued down 50 pounds with the gasket on, and I'm going to go ahead and turn over the motor at least 2 revolutions by hand. And of course, if I feel it stop, I'm not going to go any farther, but that way there the piston will come up, squash the clay, and I should be able to measure my squish. Alright, let's pull the head off and see what we got. Well, it stuck to the head. Okay, so this is the piece of clay that was the closest on the valve. I would say it's 65 thousandths. Here's the clay on the cylinder head. Now I'm going to have to cut that and see how thick it is. I think it's too thin for these EAB heads. I can't even get it up to take a measurement. Maybe there. It's less than 40. That's at 35 and still moving, so I don't think it's good. Too little. So I think I'll stick with the Merc heads. Alright, so I know it's going to be at least a couple months before I fire this thing up or can get back to it, so I'm going to add some more fresh oil to the cylinders, hopefully to keep them from rusting up. And I know when I turn it over, the rings are going to you know, drag along the cylinder, but at least some will be in there. Gasket says front of the engine. There we go. Alright, so I think everything's ready. I'm just going to put in a couple right now just to hold it and line it up. Make sure everything's, the gasket's going to fit in there. Alright, I think that's good lined up now. Alright, I got them all anti-seized, sealed, and oiled. So I'm gonna go ahead and start torquing them down. I'm gonna do 3 sequences, 20, 40, 50, but that's just what I'm doing. This one I added the washers. What the deal is the Flathead has the two inner cylinders use one exhaust port, and stock they don't come with any kind of a divider, but this motor that I had, somebody put a divider in there. It's an aftermarket thing you can get, but the divider is set in there with a set screw. Well, that set screw takes up, and the divider takes up some of the depth of this, so that's why I have those washers there. So when I torque it, I'm torquing on the threads, not bottoming out on that divider. I measured the depth of the divider to the cylinder, or the top of the block, and then I just added that amount of shims or washers, so I know I'm not torquing on the divider. And you know, there's a written torque sequence for these, but basically it's from the middle and you work your way outside. Alright, there's the first sequence, so I'm going to go ahead and go up to 40. Okay, now up to 50. Alright, that's all of it. Alright, so I got the second head on, torqued and everything, so I'm just going to spin it over a couple times. Make sure it spins over and I don't feel anything hitting, just in case. Okay, feels good. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.